jacked up I was getting. I was saying my time up here just got a lot more intense.
Yeah.
My talk just got a lot more pumped up. So it was definitely cool, definitely a great song, and a very, very cool video. Brings me back to the old school Missouri wrestling days.
That's great. Congratulations on all your success in Bellator and so on. We were talking just a moment ago about the wrestling and MMA fighting and the difference in the workouts and the intensity. And you said something that was really interesting. You missed the intensity in the wrestling room that you don't necessarily get in the MMA. How's that change a little bit in your wrestling and fighting?
I do, yeah. Fighters, we get punched and kicked in the face, and we look like a pretty mean group of guys. But I say it all the time, man. It all goes back to wrestling for me. I know that I wouldn't be the man that I am today, the competitor, the champion I am today, without the sport of wrestling, without the NCAA tournament. So, in these gyms, I've been to a lot of different gyms around the country, around the world, and there's a level of intensity where people think they're working hard, but unless you've been in the wrestling room, unless you've been here to the NCAA tournament, there's a different kind of working hard that a lot of us understand, and that I understand, that a lot of people don't understand. So every now and then I got to keep my mouth shut and say, hey, or think in my head, man, you ain't done nothing yet compared to what I've been through. So it's just such an honor and a blessing to be a wrestler and have that wrestling background. And like I said, I'm working my tail off and trying to outwork everybody in the lightweight division in the whole world.
Well, you're a great champion and a great individual, and you bring that to the sport. The hard work, the discipline, the qualities of the sport exude. And where's your next fight? You got another coming up here? What's your defense?
In Bellator, we do tournaments. So there's a tournament final this Thursday, and then there's another one in 2 weeks. So I'm going to have two guys waiting to fight me here in the next couple of weeks. So I'm just waiting on the phone call. As a wrestler, I'm always antsy. I'm always in the gym. I'm always working out. So I'm ready. I'm prepared, and I just can't wait to do it.
Let me ask you this question. What about the mental preparation? We know you train the physical, but really a lot of winning is from here up, and then really believing that you're going to win and seeing that you're going to win. Do you put a lot of practice into getting ready mentally and casting down those negative thoughts?
Absolutely, man. It's funny you ask that, because I love the sport of wrestling. I believe in my heart I worked harder than anybody else in that weight class. In 2009, I wanted to win that national title. And I told my coaches I wanted to be a national champ. I told my training partners, my fans, my friends, my loved ones that I wanted to be a national champ. But I never 100% truly believed it. And it's a hard thing for me to sit back now, looking back on it. And I was just talking to one of my coaches, Coach Sean Charles, who coached me my senior year now. And I said, Coach, this is hard for me to say to you, but I know I told you that, but I never 100% truly believed it. And now, having graduated and having moved on, I can truly say that I have no limits put on myself. I really truly do believe that I was put in this sport for a reason, and I am going to be the best lightweight in the world. No ifs, ands, or buts. So to finally be able to reach that point after years and years of negative thoughts or sabotaging myself, and it's a great feeling to kind of have that weight lifted off your chest, and it's just keep plugging away, keep working hard, and good things can happen.
And you're right, Mike. That's how powerful believing is. That when you believe it, everything within you moves in that direction. And if you believe the opposite, it moves in that direction. So you are so right. Put up the picture, put up the visionary, see yourself winning, see yourself knocking them out, and go for it, buddy.
One thing I always say, every single morning I wake up and I tell myself, I look in the mirror and I say, somebody has to be the best. Why shouldn't it be me? You got to ask
why
yourself,
not?
Why shouldn't it be me? If you work hard, if you do the right things, if you try to be the best person you possibly can be, why shouldn't it be me? And that's something I tell myself every single day.
When did it change? The preparation for the NCAA championship and winning that, and now what you've done in being a world champion of Bellator. I know no one, and I try to teach the kids when I coach, as I'm sure you do the same thing, Nate, is nobody ever stands up on that platform in the number one position and looks down at their medal and go, hey, look, I am great, I won. No one is surprised when they stand up on that platform. They are up there in that platform hundreds of times in their mind before they get up there physically. And you have to prepare yourself for that. And how do you change that? You maybe cut your legs out from underneath you once or twice in some of your thoughts. How do you change that? How did you change that?
For me, I can't say a specific event. For me, as far as wrestling goes, it happened too late. I graduated and I look back. I think what it was actually coaching for a year at the University of Missouri, and looking at these guys, I looked at the 10 wrestlers, I saw their mindset, I saw the way they trained, and certain things that they would do physically, and then the things that they would say just didn't add up. And I kind of just started to really kind of study what was going on for that whole year, and that was when I started my fight career, and that's when it kind of clicked for me that, man, I could look back at matches and I could look back at times when I literally was afraid to win. I was afraid to go out there and step on the line and wrestle, or not wrestle, I would wrestle hard, but if the opportunity presented itself, I would somehow find a way out of those big matches. And it's sad to go back and look at it, but it's made me the man that I am today and the competitor, and we all have that story, and that's something that's going to make me become the best lightweight in the world, I believe. So.
Is it kosher for me to ask you a question instead of our guest? How did you do that? I mean, you won several NCAA titles. What was the difference in your mindset versus some of the competitors? What changed from the high school scene in Pennsylvania to Iowa State?
You talking to me or you talking to Nick?
Well, I think, you know, having my brothers, having such a big family, again, I was setting goals early, dreaming early. And for some reason, I think just being around my brothers, I was able to say before I went to Iowa State that one, I want to get my degree. Two, I want to be a national champion. And one of my maxims that I use is you have to have a yes to where you're going and a no to anything that's going in the opposite direction. And readers are leaders. For some reason, I would read about champions and I would learn things from them way before I got in that situation, which helped me to make the adjustment. And then, always say, you don't invite bad thoughts, Mike, they just come. And so when they come, you have to have a way to deal with them. Case in point, Kenny Monday picked me in the Big 12. We're at Iowa State. I'm going to the platform, sold out crowd. And as I'm going to the platform, this thought comes out of nowhere. Kenny Monday pinned you. It's like, who wants to leave that in? So I had trained myself to go to this room in my mind, and in that room was a fireplace with the fire going, and there was a table in there with a piece of paper on it, with a pen on it, and a chair. I would go sit, roll out a sheet of paper, Mike, write down, Kenny Monday pinned you last time. Crumble it up, throw it into the fire, watch it turn to ash, roll out a new sheet, say, Nate, go hard, you win.
No. That's right.
I love it.
You know, I've interviewed you how many times you've never told me that story.
I'm sorry.
Wow.
It's my first one.
I just got
the
chills.
first one.
That's good. Mike Chandler, you made a decision to fight professionally, and thank you for sharing that. You made a decision to fight professionally. You moved away from your home in Missouri. You went to Las Vegas, Nevada. You put yourself at the throne of Randy Couture because he's one of the greatest in the world. He sat in that chair last year on stage with us in St. Louis. But you trained and trained and trained. I was out there many times with you morning, noon, and night, and you were busting it, dude. Nobody was training any harder. Randy Couture on record to this day still says you're one of the hardest training athletes he's ever known, and it's only getting better. Bellator has recognized this. You become the poster boy for Bellator. Now Bjorn Rebney, the man who put Bellator out there on the map and has organized this incredible fight company, is now organizing, I'm not even going to say what I have to. He's trying to do a benefit. He wants to do some benefits to benefit the sport of wrestling, to make sure that wrestling continues on at the Olympic level, and it's Bellator that's leading the way. It's not the UFC, it's Bellator and Bjorn Rebney. How cool is it to have your boss to get out there, not only on a local or a national level, but on a worldwide level, and make a statement like this, and you're the poster boy for this.
It's an honor, because at the end of the day, like I said, no matter what, I wouldn't be sitting here without this sport. And, 2009, I felt my heart being pulled in the direction of mixed martial arts and away from wrestling, and that's the decision I felt like my life was going in, and to be put on a platform to do what I'm supposed to be doing. So I love this sport. This is, I'm preaching to the choir, but this is the greatest sport in the world. I get butterflies. I don't even know what's going to happen this week when my Mizzou boys do well, and I'm probably going to be in a corner crying somewhere because this sport is just so amazing. But to be a part of something like that, to see the sport of mixed martial arts, where there's kind of been that, a little bit of tension between the two sports, where, is MMA bad for wrestling? Is wrestling good for MMA or whatnot? To be able to be a part of an organization that wants to put both of them on the same level and help each other out, it's just great. And to be the guy who can hopefully, be one of the guys who is, putting butts in seats and spreading the word of how amazing this sport is and what it has done for my life, what it has done for everybody's life in this arena. I want to do that. And since that decision was made by the Olympic Committee, I've been talking about wrestling a ton, and we all need to continue to do that in the future.
I noticed a lot of times, this weekend we're going to have, most of the individuals who win the tournament are going to have 5 to 6 matches, and they go on back to back to back to back with matches. In Bellator, it's a tournament scenario. How tough is it to fight back to back to back? You see a lot of times in boxing, they have one fight and then they take 9 months off to recuperate and get ready for the next one. You have to go back into the cage, almost immediately. How tough is that? Is it comparable to wrestling?
Nothing's comparable to wrestling, right away. But when you do think, I fought 3 times in 3 months. I brought a pretty badly pulled hamstring from my first fight into my second fight. In my second fight, I got a blood cut and some messed up face, and then brought it into the next fight. So 3 fights in 3 months, and trying to train and trying to peak and that kind of stuff is definitely a grueling process. But I knew going into it, man, you can throw me in 10 fights in one night, and I'm still going to come out the champion because of what the sport of wrestling has done for me. So I knew going into it, I was a nobody. Nobody knew who I was. Didn't know me from Adam, but I said, I'm going to go out here, I'm going to win this tournament because I'm a wrestler, and that's what we do. We go harder than everybody else, and 3 fights in 3 months is definitely not as bad as what I've gone through.
For wrestlers, is there a particular discipline, be it Taekwondo, Muay Thai? Is there something that you have a problem? Wrestlers typically struggle with. Is there one sport or one of the disciplines that are a little more difficult than another?
For me, no. I don't know if it's God-given ability or whatnot, but I seem to be able to pick up the striking well. I already have that wrestling background, so the wrestling is easier than most, and the grappling and that kind of just comes naturally because it's one man versus another man on the ground. So that's what wrestling is. So.
Mike, I like your jacket. Did you put that on there?
Thank you. I did, actually, yes.
That's good wisdom.
All right, real quick, your last fight was against Rick Hahn, and there were a lot of folks that were out there comparing judo and wrestling. I was one of them. I obviously have my favorites, but Rick is a world champion, dude. He's one of the toughest guys on planet Earth. But in round number 2 is where you put an end to it all. He had an apparent weakness, and that was on the mat.
Yeah, he was an Olympian, and I said going into that fight, not cocky, but just confident with my wrestling background. Wrestling beats judo 10 times out of 10, and I didn't throw my hands as much as I wanted to because I think subconsciously I wanted to prove to the world where wrestlers stand, and being able to get those takedowns and that kind of stuff, was great to be able to go out there and prove that wrestling, is a very, very dominant sport and a dominant background.
How tough is Rick Hahn? I mean, honestly, I watched this fight, and I was worried for you. I really was. I wasn't worried you're going to lose, but he's a tough cat.
He is. Yeah, I think he was 14-1 going into that fight, and with the Olympic background, and he was knocking guys out. He had dropped down, so he was a welterweight at 170. He has dropped down to 155, so he brought that power, and he had just knocked out 2 guys right before he was fighting me. So there was a lot of hype and a lot of momentum, and it was time to stop it.
There were people comparing him, by the way, to Jimmy Pedro, who went from wrestling at Brown to being a judo gold medalist. If you recall, he's had a lot of success training judo medalists, including young ladies now who are winning titles around the world. So it's pretty cool that you were able to dominate in judo and you took that wrestling to another level. What's next for you? Let's talk a bit about Bellator. What's next for you in Bellator?
For me, it's just keeping the main thing, and that's being in the gym as much as possible. Obviously, I'm here enjoying the wrestling weekend, but just getting better, man. I have a great opportunity to do something great with my life, it's something I've been called to do, and I refuse to sacrifice this gift. So just training hard every single day, getting better, making the right decisions, surrounding myself with the right people, and trying to be the best man I possibly can be, and keep on winning fights. That's all I know of.
How can you take this, what you're learning and what you've done so far, and get this out to the children, to the young wrestlers that are out there, other people who would like to follow you? What message you'd like to send from the sport of wrestling, from MMA, and with your experiences in life? What's the difference?
You know, for me, it's when I get people come up to me and say, "Man, I want to fight," or "My son wants to fight," "My daughter wants to fight." I say, "Well, you better get him in the wrestling room." It all goes back to wrestling. No matter what, the wrestlers of this world are going to be, you know, they're setting themselves up to be successful, and you know, so that's the best background to have if you're going to be in mixed martial arts. And for the wrestlers out there, for any athletes out there, for anybody out there in any profession, in any walk of life, man, just give yourself permission to be the best. Don't be, you know, like you said, don't listen to those negative thoughts. Don't put limits on yourself. God doesn't put limits on me, so why the heck should I? And at the end of the day, somebody has to be the best. Why shouldn't it be you? So that's kind of the words I've been living by, and trying to become the best in the world. And you train hard, and you try to do the right thing, and good things are going to happen.
And Mike, I think it's all right to be confident. There's a maxim that says when insecurity meets confidence, it causes arrogance. But that's only because they don't know where they're going. So it's all right.
Absolutely, I like that. I'm gonna tweet that.
All right.
I'm gonna tweet that.
All right, and our producer is telling us how much time we have left. What is it, 10 minutes, Jack? 10 minutes? All right. So